There's the eternal quandary of would you want to know when you die? Would you live every moment to the fullest from then on? Or would you crumble into a pit of dread from which you can never escape? Expedition 33 tackles this thought experiment head on, with its cast of characters all approaching this question differently. The Gommage provides a perfect framework for the world of Expedition 33 to be shaped around this debate, and the prologue of the game presents multiple fascinating viewpoints. As you explore Lumiere and talk to the citizens, you can find all sorts of dissenting opinions about this society that's structured around having a finite amount of time left. You can find people debating what the point in having children is when they won't be able to grow up. You can find artists who choose to spend their time trying to find meaning in their finiteness, and then you have the expedition members who, whether they like it or not, head off to try and stop the Gommage. In the case of our party, they all rallied in their belief that the Gommage is an inspiration for them to keep fighting and defy their fate. It might have been an interesting idea to have one party member have a pessimistic viewpoint on their impending erasure and come around over the course of the game, but for reasons we'll get into a bit later, that wouldn't really fit in with the core theme of the game. Our main party is all unanimously agreed to fight the Paintress and stop her curse, and we can compare this to what I believe is the core inspiration behind the Gommage, Avengers Endgame. Once it becomes apparent that all hope is lost, the Avengers fall into despair. Some, like Tony, find new things to fight for, while characters like Hawkeye completely lose themselves in their grief. This only changes when a new way to reverse the decimation shows up in the form of Ant-Man. But the party members of Expedition 33 never lose hope that they can stop the Gommage and save their home. Despite the task being basically impossible, as no one has ever sailed to the continent and returned, they still believe they can stop the inevitable. This, to me, is the correct response to the question of what you'd do if you knew the date of your own death. You would do everything in your power to defy your destiny and say that fate doesn't get to decide when your life ends. But what's more interesting to me is how the people of Lumiere have built their culture around the Gommage, seeing it as a sort of ritual and event rather than a tragedy. Granted, it still is a tragedy, but the people treat the day of the Gommage as some kind of farewell celebration, decorating the streets and making it something beautiful yet awful. The people allow themselves to share in this collective grief and help each other process the loss of their loved ones as this ceremony becomes part of their communal identity. There are discussions on whether it's worth having children because humanity seems doomed to extinction, yet the city of Lumiere doesn't seem like a place full of morose people. There are still those with hope, which come in the form of the expeditions to the continent, which raises another interesting moral quandary. As far as the people know, an expedition is a death sentence since no one has ever returned from one, and from what I can tell, the expedition is launched soon after the Gommage, meaning that the people of Lumiere almost double their suffering by sending people away to die a year earlier than they otherwise would. Which brings up the second quandary of their world. If you know for certain you're going to die, would you rather die sooner in the name of a seemingly futile hope, or wait out your sentence in dread? To me, the answer is almost certainly the former, as I don't believe in any kind of fate, or accepting what the universe tells you is going to happen. And even if I absolutely have to die no matter what, I'm going to do it on my terms and do it because I chose to die, not because I waited for someone else to do it for me. The thing I want, and I believe everyone secretly wants, is purpose. And there's no purpose in waiting around to die when you have the option to take your life into your own hands. It's time to get around to the point I was alluding to earlier, but it's at this point I need to issue a spoiler warning, so please click away if you haven't finished the game. But Clair Obscur doesn't get into those questions as deeply as it would initially seem at the outset, despite this being a strong and unique moral quandary that games haven't really explored. Instead, at the end of the second act, there's a rather abrupt but not unnecessarily unwelcome shift in focus to the nature of reality and consequences. But even though the theme of mortality is lost, the game is consistent on the topic of grief, though its stance isn't healthy. Alicia has created this false world to escape the mourning of her brother's death and her miserable life in reality. This ties into the first part of the game, where the characters within the painting are all fighting so they no longer have to grieve the people who disappear in the Gommage. But Expedition 33 makes a dangerous mistake in letting you choose the ending of the story, but not presenting either option as wrong when one of them absolutely is. For those of you that have finished Persona 5 Royal, the answer is blatant. Escaping into a fantasy world is no way to deal with trauma, yet Expedition 33 doesn't chastise the player for continuing to live in a delusion that will eventually kill Alicia when she could confront reality and continue living. For more Expedition 33 essays, here's one about the revolutionary turn-based combat of the game, and I'll be back in 2 days.